Hey everybody, it's Monday, March 23rd. It's Father John Wilson here, coming to you live. So you guys, I've been thinking a lot in recent days, especially, not being able to celebrate Mass publicly, about, a lot of the saints in our church who have suffered for a long period of time lack of the Eucharist, lack of the sacraments. Saints who have been, in some cases, confined in for long periods of time. We have a lot of prisoner saints in our church, and they can be great examples for us, great inspiration for us at a time like this. And I was thinking about this yesterday, and my eyes kind of fell onto my bookshelf, onto a book that I had read a while ago, read during a retreat in seminary, and but it kind of perfect for this situation. I just wanted to share it to you. It's a short book. I've made gotten most of the way through it just in the past day or so, and it's a book I would highly recommend to anyone, especially now. So here it is again. Sorry for the selfie cam. I want to take the picture this way because I want to make sure I'm still in the middle of the screen. But I'll put the link in the comments. Father Walter Ciszek is an American Jesuit. He was born I think in 1904, just died back in the 80s. This is his really his spiritual masterpiece. It's called He Leadeth Me. Father Ciszek was he was a Jesuit and a kind of a covert missionary in communist Russia when at the outbreak of World War II, and when Germany invaded Russia, he was arrested. He was accused of being a Vatican spy, and he was in confinement in Russia for the next 23 years. He was only released in 1963 and was able to come home. So he wrote a couple of books. The first one was called With God in Russia. It's a long book. It's the sort of the day by day, this is what happened to me. And then this book, which is much shorter, He Leadeth Me, is his more reflective spiritual commentary on his time. And it's short. It is incredibly beautiful, and it's incredibly encouraging. And the kind of the climax, the spiritual climax of the book comes fairly quickly into his imprisonment. He had gone into Russia with all of this youthful zeal. He had only been ordained a priest for a year or two, and then he was in confinement in the infamous Lubyanka prison in Moscow for 5 years. Solitary confinement, bare rations, no human interaction except his interrogators. And the spiritual climax really comes when the interrogations broke him. He was actually intimidated into signing a false confession, and then from there pressured into contemplating all these schemes to cooperate with the Soviet propaganda, and the experience of being broken and being invited into those lies really brought him to the brink of despair. And it was at that point that, stripped of all of his sense of self-worth, and, actually being tempted to sort of be angry at God, God, why weren't you with me when, I should have had the words I needed, that he realized that how much he had been relying on his own on himself, on his own initiative, on his own cleverness, and the experience of being humiliated in that prison led him to cry out to God in a whole new way and realize that he had a choice to make, that his choice was whether to see God's providence, God's will in all situations, and whether he was going to humbly submit himself to it in every situation that God gave him. He was trying to kind of grasp at the will of God through his own cleverness, when in fact the will of God was in the present moment, and in being docile to the inspiration of the Holy Spirit in the present moment, wherever it brought him. And that's ultimately what gave him the strength to witness, to begin again to live the love of Jesus Christ in that prison cell, in that interrogation room, and ultimately in the prison camp where he was sentenced to 15 years hard labor. And he was actually able to be, in kind of small and clever but deeply powerful ways, work as a priest again, baptize, say Mass in secret, and sanctify Siberia by his presence, by his trust in God, by his priestly labor. It's a lesson for us that humility is the doorway to a true relationship with God. We can talk about suffering all we want, but until we're actually in the midst of it, and we're seeing how it's sometimes breaking us down, that's when we're given the grace to know God in a whole new way. Humility often comes through humiliation. Humility often comes through knowing our own weakness. There are many of us who are probably not responding to this present time in exactly the perfect way right now. We're scared. We're kind of reaching for those old things that bring us comfort that aren't actually good for us. And because of that, we're giving way to discouragement. It doesn't have to be that way. Let God break you down, and then let God lift you up. Be humble. Be humble in his sight. Again, the book is called He Leadeth Me. The author is Father Walter Ciszek. A really great source of inspiration in these days. I'll see you guys soon.